paramount in our country. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Well, Holly, thank you for the flowers. I know I just got back from this time away. I'm really so grateful that you thought of me.
Hey, what did I give you?
What did you give me?
Couch and a rug.
All right.
Wait. I redecorated his office, and I brought him my couch and my carpet and all the things that I'm donating, and it looks really good.
For a change. But the first thing she said was that I can take naps because I'm started to come back this week. I want to tell you, in the very beginning of this, I want to tell you a very religious story. So hang on. There was this great chassid once upon a time. His name was Rabbi Yisachar Ber. I know Yisachar is a name you don't have to learn how to pronounce. And he was passing through this village because all of these Hasidic stories have some Rebbe passing through a village. And as the night was falling, he stopped at this local inn, but he couldn't sleep. And he paced his room for hours, and this poor innkeeper who lived just below this Rebbe Yisachar Ber, whose name you don't have to remember, he was listening in his room. The innkeeper was listening to the Rebbe's footsteps all night long, and he couldn't sleep. And in the morning, the innkeeper asked his guests why he couldn't sleep. And the Rebbe responded, "Where did you get the clock that was in my room?" And the innkeeper said, "It was given to me by a guest. It was part of a payment. There was a time when there was another rabbi who had sought shelter from the summer storms and stayed at my inn, and he gave it to me. And a few days later, once the storms had ended, the rabbi told me that he had no money. All he had was this clock from his own father, the famous Rabbi Jacob Yitzchak, the seer of Lublin." And as the innkeeper concluded this retelling of the story, Rabbi Yisachar Ber cried out, "I know this clock." It's the story. "I know this clock because once upon a time it belonged to my teacher." And the Rebbe explained that this clock is different from any other clock. Most clocks tick away minutes and hours, so you see only what is past. But this clock is distant, it's different. It sings to you. It sings one day closer, one day closer, one day closer. So the innkeeper asked, "One day closer to what?" And the Rebbe says, "One day closer to the time when the world is going to be whole again, when the world is going to be at peace." This is a clock of hope that the Rebbe shared with the innkeeper. And I work really hard to listen to that clock, to the one that says, "One day closer, one day closer." And while the story certainly shares lots of wisdom for us, I think there's lots of things that we can take away. It can remind us to mark time. It could tell us not to use up time and see it spin behind us. It can teach us to work hard. It can remind us to do good, to make our world a world of peace. But tonight I'm hearing the clock a little bit differently, and I'm thinking of another message. Because today I'm looking forward into the future, and I see Holly Berman in a van. With Marsha, traveling the country, because planes are asur, they're prohibited in Jewish tradition. And in this van life, I see them traveling. I see her drinking chai with Cantor Avery on her porch once the Cantor moves to town, because they've already been talking weekly. But we can't look ahead without looking back. In order to know where we're going, we have to have some sense of where we have been. And in Jewish tradition, memory is so important to us. We always focus on remembering. We always focus on the things that have to be carried forward. So in part of my remembering, it's not just to remember, but the idea of remembering in Jewish tradition is really about focusing. It's about thinking of something a little bit more intentionally. This reading in the Torah, this Shabbat is Kedoshim. In Kedoshim, we're in the book of Leviticus, the middle book of the Torah. And it's the middle book, and some would even argue it's a central book, because it focuses all about holiness. Now, many of us might remember the word kadosh from Hebrew school. Kadosh, which means holy. And we hear a lot about this kadosh word. There's kaddish that we have at the end of the service when we remember loved ones who have passed. We make a drink and a l'chaim with a kiddush. L'chaim is our toast to life. Kiddush is the drink that we will, with a blessing that we'll say over some wine or grape juice. Well, this Torah story begins focusing on that word of kadosh and kedusha, holiness. It starts, V'yidaber Adonai el Moshe limor. God spoke to Moses, saying, Daber el kol adat Yisrael v'amata alehem. Speak to the whole Israelite community, all of them, and say to them, Kedoshim tihiyu. Kedoshim tihiyu. You shall be holy. Why? Ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. Because I, Adonai, your God, am holy. I think it's a beautiful text. I think there's a lot of power in this text. I think this is our essence. Because a lot of times when people think about holiness, they think about services and kiddush, and when I tell you to stand up, or al chet, which I can't do right now. It has all of these ritual pieces, but real holiness is about real life. This Torah portion, Kedoshim, talks about business. It talks about ritual. It talks about God. It talks about how we relate to one another. It talks about everything. Everything has the possibility of being holy. So what could be holy? Torah. Sure, that's an easy one. What about the responsibility to feed others? Is that holy? It's not rhetorical. You don't know? I'm going to need the surgeon again. Some of you are saying yes. Okay. What about the responsibility we might have to make other people feel taken care of? Is that holy work? Is learning something new, can that be holy? Can taking care of ourselves emotionally and physically, could that be holy? Yeah, I'm working on it. I would say something else. In the Hebrew of this line, Kedoshim Tihiyu, the Kedoshim part, it's in the plural. Some people kind of forget about this part. So the reason why I think that's so amazing is because it's for all of us, with no exceptions. It's not me being holy because I'm the rabbi. It's not reserved for clergy or scholars of Torah. Kedoshim is for everyone. It's for you and it's for me, and there's no difference between us. And I'd say something else. I think we do holy stuff best when we are with others. I think we do holy stuff best when we are part of community, when we feel like we belong together, a community of care, a community of belonging. It invites us to be our best selves. And we can't be that best self all of the time. Nobody can. It's exhausting. And our ancestors weren't either. They made their mistakes, but when a community strives to be present and accountable and gentle, when a community strives to be pursuers of justice and builders of memory and sources of inspiration, we respond to the call, Kedoshim Tehiyu, you shall be holy. But I don't want to call this a commandment. I know our rabbis have all said this is one of the commandments. You shall be holy. For some of us, that feels a little scary or just alien. I don't know if this is a command. I would like for you, again, not rhetorical, to introduce yourself to your neighbor, and you're going to do the following. You're going to introduce yourself to someone you don't know. You're going to introduce yourself. You're going to say who you are. And you're going to answer the question, what else could this be, Kedoshim Tehiyu, you shall be holy? I'll give you an example, because I know you're scared. My name is Fred. My pronouns are he, him. I think this is not a command. I think this is an invitation. I think this is an aspiration. Be holy. Turn to your neighbor. I'm not actually kidding. Turn to your neighbor, introduce yourselves, and say, what is this for you? Tell us what it is. You only have 20 more seconds.
When you laugh and you grab.
Wonderful. Okay, that's it. I need 5 people to call out and say what you've done. Wait, shh, 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 shh. I need 5 people to call out and say what you came up with. Somebody from this side. Caring for others. Great, someone in the middle. Who? Appreciation. Holiness is about appreciation. Somebody from the back? Call it out. Creativity. Holiness is about creativity and cool hats. Love that. Somebody from over here? Ooh, everything is holy, Bruce says. I love it, Bruce Almighty. So I hear the clock ticking. And as I look back and think about everything that you've said and everything you've discussed and all of these ideas about community, I hear Holly Berman's voice. I hear Holly's voice helping us with choosing to be holy through songs, through holy days, through Torah chanting, through the funerals where she accompanied our loved ones, the hospitals where she would pray and hold somebody's hand at their bedside, making holy choices. That's what every faith asks. Not just ours. And it's never easy, but it's always good. In the sacred accompanying that we do with one another, in the sacred accompanying, livui ruchani, we lift up the sacredness of one another by seeing one another. Kedoshim Tehiyu, be holy in community, with community. So one thing I want to share about what it means to care. Rabbi Alexander Schindler, may his memory be a blessing, wrote about the power of a caring community, something that Holly's been working on for all of these years, along with lots of you in lots of different ways. Rabbi Schindler wrote, our lives are a wilderness, uncharted and unpredictable. Untimely deaths, unexpected blows, unsuitable matches, unfulfilled dreams. And yet, by gathering our heartaches into a house of worship, we find something transformative happening. Our sorrows become windows of compassion. Paths through the wilderness, hewed and marked by past generations, give us our bearings. Patterns of meaning and significance emerge. We are moved from self-pity to love. Our individual heartbeats merge with the pulse of all humankind. Suddenly, we no longer tremble like an uprooted reed. I believe with all my heart, which is doing quite well, with all of my heart. That was funny. I really do believe with all my heart that communities of belonging can help us heal, can help us be courageous even when we're frightened, and can help us find meaning in our fast-paced and hectic and challenging lives. So there it is. Do you hear it? Can you hear the clock? We hear the clock and we are excited for you, Holli and Marcia, as you move into the next stage of your life journey. We admire your ability to hear the clock, to look back, see your life's work, Holli, in the souls that you have accompanied on sacred journeys. And with all of that said, I invite you to turn to 649 for you to sing a prayer with me to Holli and her family as they journey. Let's see if I can do this. Oh, you have one up there? All right. Page 649. Oh my God, I love you for this. I haven't done this in a while, so you're going to have to join along. If you don't know it, it's fine, neither do I. But sing it to her and to them. May we be blessed as you go on your way. May we be guided in peace. May we be blessed with health and joy. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. May we be sheltered. May we be sheltered by the wings of peace. May we be kept in safety and in love. This is my favorite line. May grace and compassion find their way to every soul. May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. 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 May this be our blessing. Amen. Let's rise if you are able.